Hi and welcome back to This Bytes for You. In this video, I'm going to show you how to build your next dream machine inside of the HYTE Y60 mid-tower chassis. This is a beautiful case. Now, the base of the system is going to be the X570S AORUS Master Gaming Motherboard. Then we're going to be utilizing the AMD Ryzen 9 5900X processor. Cooling this entire system is going to be the Arctic Freezer 280 ARGB liquid cooling unit. The graphics, they're going to come from the EVGA GeForce RTX 3080 Ti FTW3. Powering this bad boy is going to be the EVGA Supernova 1000G Plus power supply. Then we're going to be using the 2TB Sabrent Rocket M.2 SSD. As a backup drive, we're going to be utilizing the Western Digital Blue 500GB SSD. And then we're also going to be utilizing 32 gigs of Thermaltake ToughRAM RGB 4000 MHz RAM. Anyway, let's get started. So what we're going to start today is on the motherboard. On this particular motherboard, the X570S AORUS Gaming Master, you'll notice there's a little white triangle facing this way over the AM4 socket. So first off, we're going to go ahead and this arm right over here, we're going to push our nail right here. We're going to push it outwards away from this little plastic peg. We'll just go ahead, lift it like that, and then raise the arm. Raising the arm goes ahead and opens up the AM4 socket, and now we're going to go ahead and place our 5900X processor. But notice on the processor, there's one piece here, not here, here, or here, but right over here that has a little gold triangle. It's going to match this triangle right over here. And that lets us know that this is where the CPU is going to sit. And then you don't have to push it down, just align it and the CPU will fall right into place. And it's in there. So now we'll just go ahead and push this arm down. And then we'll go ahead and lock it right into place with that plastic piece. And now we're going to go ahead and install the RAM. So you'll notice right over here it says DDR4 underscore A1, A2, B1, and B2. Now what that is A1 and B1, these two right here, these are one channel. And then A2 and B2, these are another channel. So if you only have 2 sticks of RAM, you would actually put them in A2 and B2. Essentially the second and the fourth slot. But on this case, we have 4 sticks of RAM. At the same time, we are going to be utilizing that dual channel method. So for example, these are 2 separate kits. Okay, you'll notice on one kit, bunch of numbers, models, and all that good stuff. But then you get closer down here, you'll see it says 2097. Then this one says 2098. Now these two are going to be banks A2 and B2. These two are 2029, and then right up here, 2030. These are going to be under A1 and B1. Mixing RAM generally isn't a good idea. You can come up with a bunch of issues, but as long as you keep the banks similar, you should be okay. So now, as you saw me do, I went ahead and opened this up. This allows you to actually install RAM. Closing it locks the RAM right into these little pieces right over here. You can see that there. So that goes ahead and locks in and locks the RAM in place. So we'll go ahead and install it in A2. And then you'll notice I installed it wrong. It's seesawing. So there's a little notch right over here. Then there's a little indentations right over here. These little plastic pieces right over here, if you don't align them right, they're going to seesaw like that. So we just turn the RAM around, and then we'll go ahead and just drop it right in there. And then you just push down, and that goes ahead and locks the RAM here and here automatically without me pushing in. Make sure you don't push left or right. you push only down, you could damage your DIMM slot that way. If you push back or forward, just straight down. Okay, now we're gonna go ahead and put 9/8 in. And you see that went ahead and locked it in place for us. Now we're gonna go ahead and work on A1 and B1. And now we have 32 gigs of 4000 megahertz RAM. Okay, so now we're gonna go ahead and install the M.2 SSD, the Sabrent Rocket. That's going to go underneath this heatsink. So first off, let's go ahead and remove this heatsink. And now we'll go ahead and grab that M.2 SSD. You'll notice there's a little notch right over here on the SSD. There's also a little notch right over here on the M.2 slot. Okay, and that's gonna go ahead and match up right over here. So all we do is push it in. You might hear a little click or not, but you'll feel it go ahead and go in. And then we can just go ahead, lay it down, and then screw in the screw right over here. It's going to be held down with the heatsink. Okay, now we'll grab that same heatsink. We'll just lay it right over where the screw holes are. Now it may not be easy the first time around. So we'll just go ahead and screw this side and then go ahead and screw this one in. All right, so we're done installing the M.2 and now we have to install the liquid cooling unit. So before we can install it, we have to remove these two plastic brackets. So we'll go ahead and just unscrew them here. Now these, even though we're removing them, they're important to keep just in case you decide that you want to use some sort of different cooling mechanism that requires these two little braces again. Then we can just lift that out of there. And we'll go ahead and remove these now. Best place to put them is inside of your motherboard box. That way you don't lose them. Don't lift your board, because if you notice where those screws screwed into, when we lift the board, that disappears. There's a back plate that we're going to be utilizing for the liquid cooling unit. So to start, we're gonna move this away for right now, and we're going to bring the liquid cooling unit right over here. We'll lay it on its side so that we can work on down here. So inside of this little baggie, we'll go ahead and grab the two screws for the mounting clip. These two guys right over here, they're the longest screws in the bag. And then we'll go ahead and grab these two pieces. Now they're going to go ahead and screw in right like this, with these pieces facing outwards. I'm gonna go ahead and drop it in just like that. We'll use our fingers at first just to make it easier. Okay, then we're going to go ahead and use this one, slide it under the cables, and then we're gonna do the same thing over here. Just line the screw hole up, then drop it right in here. Then just screw it in. And same over here. Okay, now make sure to take this off. You definitely don't want to forget about that and leave it on. Could potentially mess up your CPU, or it just won't cool as well. Okay, now we'll go ahead and set this aside just for right now. And we'll bring that motherboard back. There are a few revisions of this liquid cooling unit. The one I'm using is revision 1. If you're using a different revision, make sure you check the installation manual for this liquid cooling unit. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and open up the AMD baggie, again for the liquid cooling unit. Now it's going to come with these little plastic pieces. We're going to go ahead and just put these plastic pegs right over where we unscrewed that mounting mechanism before. Just place it right over there, and we'll do the same for all four. The top piece is going to have this rounded off edge, whereas the bottom piece, you'll notice how that doesn't have rounded off over here. It is rounded off, just not as rounded off. And then we're going to go ahead and lay it right over here. Now you'll notice there's two little screw holes there. For the top one, we're going to utilize the top two holes, and then we'll drop these screws in here. They come in that same little baggie, into there and into there. Then we'll go ahead and just screw it in a little tiny bit with our fingertips just to make it line up. And we'll do the same over here. Okay, that way you know it's good. Now we'll go ahead and screw that in. And now for the bottom two down here, we're going to go ahead and flip that like this so that this round piece is facing upwards. And we're going to use the top two screw holes again, like we did up here. And we'll go ahead and drop these screws in here. At first it's going to be flimsy because the screws are not in their screw holes yet or threaded through. You can just hold one side and start it with your fingertips. Then we'll bring in the one over here. So now we'll just go ahead and screw that in. Perfectly screwed in. Now we'll go ahead and drop the thermal paste. It includes a little tube of Arctic MX5 thermal paste. The way I like to do it, everybody does it differently, is we'll just push in one large pea-size dot right in the center. When that heatsink comes on, it goes ahead and spreads that for us. Okay, now we'll go ahead and grab the pump, and we'll go ahead and use these little holes right over here. You'll notice there's two screw holes over here kind of placed into each other. Then there's this separate one right over there. We'll go ahead and use that separate one on all four sides. Just slide it through. All right, and now just push down with your fingertips a little bit. That goes ahead and spreads the paste. Now we're just doing it to kind of hold it in. So while we're holding this down, we'll go ahead and use this little thumb screw that it brings, and we'll screw it in about halfway, just keeping it in place. Now we'll do the same for diagonally over here. I know you can't see that one right now, but it's just directly across over here. Now we'll do the same over here. And then we'll do the same right up here. And now that we have all four of them screwed in, again, about 50%, now we'll just go ahead in and just screw them all in 100%. I can't give you a number as to how many screws, just play it by ear, but you don't want to go too hard down. Notice I did diagonally here, here, then here, and here. Coming up next. And we're not going to do it right now, but since we have both of these cables coming out from the bottom as we did, we can go ahead and line them up going towards the top of the board, right up here where the cables would connect. But again, we're not going to worry about that just right now. All right, so now we've installed the CPU, the M.2 SSD, 32 gigs of RAM, and the liquid cooling unit. Now mind you, we haven't done the cabling or the configuring in the BIOS. That will come a little bit later on. But now we're going to go ahead and get this motherboard inside of the case and then take care of everything else with inside the case. Actually, I just realized on this particular motherboard, the motherboard screw is One of them is going to be right behind here. Notice directly above here. So I'm gonna have to take off this heat shield. Then when we have everything built, I'll put the heat shield back on. So I'll go ahead and do that now real quick off camera. Now, before we install our motherboard, we want to make sure that we have the standoffs in the correct location. On the motherboard, you'll notice there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 places for screws. Those are going to be resting on top of standoffs on the case. Now, the motherboard I had on here is an ATX motherboard. The case right now is utilizing a standard ATX post layout. So we counted 9 screws before. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 down here. You may not be able to see it. 7, 8, 9 standoffs. Now, you're going to want to hold your motherboard up in place to verify that all the standoffs are in the correct location. And if not, you can easily use this little accessory that they include in the accessory box. Just put it on your screwdriver and you can easily unscrew one of the standoffs and change the locations. Maybe this standoff should be here, or this one here, or maybe this one should be, you know, not there at all. What you don't want to happen is the back of your motherboard to make contact with the back of the case. And if there isn't a standoff and there isn't a hole for a standoff, you don't want that standoff to hit the back of your motherboard, potentially shorting out your motherboard. So I just wanted to give you that information real quick. Okay, now that we know that everything is good there, first thing we're going to want to do is move the little PCIe bracket for the riser. I mean, it works. We can easily put the board in, but we have to slide the board under. We can move this. We just need to unscrew it from here. And either we can just hold it over here for now, which is kind of awkward. There isn't a good place to put it. Or we can always unscrew 1, 2, 3, 4 screws, which is kind of a pain in the butt, but it's an option. By unscrewing here, and then over here. As you see, we will have to use 2 separate screwdrivers, as the innermost screws that I'm working on right now are a little bit finer tipped. And now we won't easily be able to remove it though, but we can at least maneuver it. We can remove this and maneuver it a little bit better, so that it's a little bit more out of the way. Now you can completely remove it, but it's going to take a lot more work because of the way that it's actually running through the base of the case. But actually, I'll go ahead and put that back. I just wanted to show you there is an option there. Okay, and now after moving everything out of the way, I'm going to go ahead and grab the motherboard and the liquid cooling unit. I'm going to settle the liquid cooling unit over here real quick, and then I'm going to slide the motherboard right in place. Might have to deal with this a little tiny bit. Then we go ahead and align all the screw holes with the posts. All right, now after aligning everything, let's go ahead and put this in place. Okay, so as I originally suspected, so you can see how right here is where the riser card is supposed to go. But that's where the M.2 heat shield is, right up here. So what I need to do is actually remove this half-height PCIe cover. And just place it there. Not a big deal, although I did see it coming when I took it out of the box, the case. Now we're gonna go ahead and insert that PCIe riser card and just put it into its slot right there. And then we'll just go ahead and screw that one in. Having this mechanism in place right here makes it difficult to screw this right into there. But anyway, something we can work with. All right, now that we have the riser card installed, I just realized I was a little distracted. We should have first screwed in the motherboard, then the riser card, but that's okay. It's not going to mess up anything. So what we're going to do now is, since the M.2 SSD has a heat shield that covers this screw hole right over here, we're gonna go ahead and screw that one in first. So just start right here. And now we'll go ahead and install that heat shield. And then this one right over here. Now we'll go ahead and screw in the rest of the screws. So we'll start up here, top left-hand corner. And I like to do everything diagonally. So since we have this one here and this one, we'll go down here to the bottom right-hand corner. Then right up here. And then the last two in the center of the board. All right, so now that we've screwed in the motherboard correctly and the PCIe riser card, let's go ahead and screw in the radiator for the liquid cooling unit real quick. All right, so back to the unconventional method. Now I have the case standing up again because we have the radiator right here. Now, in order for me to get to the other side where I can put my hand in to hold the radiator, I need to take this piece of glass out. So to take that out, I take out the screw here, here, and here. And actually it seems I've already taken these two off. So just take off this one. At least I know where those screws came from now. Take that off for right now. Now I'm going to use this little baggie of screws that comes with the Arctic Freezer 2. Okay, so I'm just gonna go ahead, put this through the little washer. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and line up the holes and just use my fingers as to screw in the pilot screws just to keep everything in place. And you know what, actually for this one, I'm gonna go ahead and flip it around because I actually can now. Haven't had a build where I can have the tubes at the bottom. All right, now I'm using my finger to go ahead, prop this up a little tiny bit. Now just go ahead and screw them all in, like I always say to do, diagonal. So we're putting the top left-hand corner first, tightening that one up. Now we're coming to the bottom right-hand corner one, tightening that up, and now we'll go ahead and do the rest. And I'm just going in, making sure everything's nice and tight. Now, so you can see how it looks like so far. I'll get used to that eventually. Now, because we can, and I'll take it off during the cabling portion of the video, I'm gonna go ahead and put it in that video card just so that I can see how it looks like. All right, so for this one, I will have to remove this cover and this cover, maybe even this one. I'll get rid of the first two just in case, or get rid of the first two because I know I need to. Now, if you didn't see my unboxing, talk to you about how this has so that you can fit your vertically mounted GPU. It doesn't give you the option at all to install a regular slotted card, because you'll notice these are half heights. But if you do have a half height card, you can hide it behind the video card. All right, so let's see how this is going to work. I may actually have to plug in the video card the original way I was going to. Oh, one thing I didn't realize, there's a protective film right over here. So go ahead and remove that. Definitely, if you buy this case, or when you buy this case, I'll say, remove that film that's over the PCIe slot, and now you can install the video card properly. That looks pretty cool. Now, I'm gonna have to see how the PCIe connections are going to work with the tubing right here, but that could be a small problem. We can always correct it. So now coming around the back, I'll just go ahead and take this out for right now. Now, we're gonna go ahead and install this WD Blue SSD, but I wanted to show you what I found out right after my unboxing video, is that you can fit 2 drives like this, so one on the tray and then one just above it, screwed into the sides here. Now mind you, I did not screw in the screws flush, so it would hold out a little bit more like that, but because they're loose, it kind of sags. But this is how you would go ahead and install 4 drives into this case. Not ideal, but I mean, it works, especially if they're SSDs. They don't have any moving parts in them, so it'll work well. But let me show you how to get an SSD on here. So just going ahead and restarting that. So we'll just go ahead and take out a tray. All right, so just like that, we'll grab that SSD, and then you'll notice there is 1, 2, 3, 4 screw holes on here, and that goes ahead and lines up with the screw holes on the bottom of the drive. So we can just easily put that right over here, line up the screw holes. Okay, so then we just get one of those, line them up. And now we'll go ahead and we'll do the same to the other 3. And then we'll just go ahead and, with the drive on there, we'll go ahead, slide that in, and that's it. You can see it right along the back here. Now mind you, we can always go ahead and just come over here. And if we want to keep it towards the front of the back, if you get what I mean. That way it can be as far out as possible, and you can easily connect those 2 cables right over here. So we are done with the hardware portion of the HYTE Y60 build. Now, this is just the hardware. We're going to get through the cabling right after this. I wanted to show you the hardware portion first, just exactly where everything goes, and then afterwards walk you through the cabling portion where each and every cable comes from and goes to make your PC fully work. So this is Iggy with ThisBytesForYou, again showing you how to build your dream PC in the HYTE Y60 case. Iggy with ThisBytesForYou out. See you guys.